Okay guys, what you have in front of you is two games that I played on Title Tuesday, both as the white pieces, both using the King's Indian attack. One against a 2500 Fide Master, the other one against a 2000 Candidate Master. And these are two games that I wanted to show you. I even got some brilliant moves in each game. And, and you might be asking, why am I showing you only the games that I won? Well, it's my video. Nah, just kidding. Now, guys, on the last video where I showed you my Title Tuesday games, we only reviewed games with the black pieces. So it is time to review the one with the white pieces. I got some nice wins using the King's Indian attack, but I chose these two because it's two different levels. And of course, they got those brilliant moves. But overall, the other wins that I got, guys, they were not that instructionals. So let's see how this one goes. So this is the first game. I'm doing my King's Indian attack. Important, whenever you see this setup, guys, it doesn't matter if I did e4 first or knight f3 first, it doesn't matter. Now, the moment they did c5, this is more like a King's Indian attack against the Sicilian defense because they did c5. It's the same thing as if we had done e4 and then c5. Now, this e5, I'm not saying it's a good move, but it made sense to me. And this is the whole point that we have been trying to make in this course, guys. Get to the middle game safely and then play chess. So that fork, right from the beginning, my opponent missed a tactic and we got into it. Now, don't forget, this is like those UFC fighters, those boxers, they land a punch and they want to get that momentum to continue to attack, right? So I got my knight c6, knight e7. Now I want to continue to add more pressure. And my opponent is already uncomfortable. So here I was expecting something like queen b7, check, get away from the threat with a check. But to be honest, it didn't really lead to much. So my opponent decided, you're going to see, to just go to d8. Now here I'm indicating bishop f4 could have been also a nice move, developing the bishop at the expense of the queen. But that's a move that it was always at the back of my mind. Also, queen f3, knight c6. Now, I was about to do knight c6 in this game, but the truth is that that knight is pretty powerful. And it reminds me of a game that I showed you guys where Magnus had a knight in his opponent's territory. And it felt like it was going to get in trouble, but it ended up being key in winning the game. Now here, bishop f4 finally, and now they have to be careful. If they do something like rook e8, we could do something as simple as bishop c7, and we trap that queen. So notice how my active, my minor pieces are really aggressive because we're fully developed. So now this is what we should do. If we're heading development, we gotta use that to punish our opponent. So those dark squares are ours. Our knight could go to d6, it could go to c7. Same thing for the bishop. And again, guys, we're playing a 2500 player, and we have to be very careful. You don't know how many times I've been ahead like this, and then I get excited, I go all in, and I make silly mistakes. So we have to know when to slow down, when to go back. But for the most part, it is important that you don't lose this momentum. So my opponent's turn, of course, you're uncomfortable. You can see me down there enjoying this moment and getting ready for what's coming. So here, of course, bishop c7 is a candidate move, knight c7 is a candidate move. We have talked about candidate moves so much that you should be used to it already. So I decided to go for it. That's a safe safe rook. And then my opponent tries to go after the bishop. So at this point, what I'm thinking is, do I really want to give my opponent that double pawn? Because if they take on f4, I get double pawns and my king gets exposed. So I hesitated for a moment, but it was just too tempting to take the rook. Now, queen f3, you're going to see in the analysis after that queen f3 is always key. And I considered that many times, but it's hard, guys, to let go of that free rook. And I knew that the rook is not going anywhere, so there's no rush. But still, I really wanted to take it, I gotta say. I know from experience, if you see a good move, look for a better one, but I really wanted to just take the rook, and I took it. Now, I could have done so many other things, but after evaluating the position, I was like, you know what? Even though my king is exposed, I don't see them attacking my king anytime soon. Now, what you're going to see next in the game is really, really important, because I was completely attacking, and when you attack, your opponent, guys, either gets checkmated or they give you material to make you go away, right? And that's what's happening here. They wanted to take the pawn, fine. I considered just doing knight c6. I considered getting my knight to take on b6 so I don't lose it for nothing. But then I said, you know what? I like this variation. I'm gonna go rook a to b1 and just go into an endgame where I trade queens. So I go from aggressive attacking to accepting a very nice endgame because I know I have it under control. I feel comfortable with it. And we have had lessons on this, how to convert an advantage. So I knew they had to take. Now, queens off the board, my knight gets to the center. Look at my knight compared to their knight. And guys, I know it's very easy to do commentary here and say how good I played when their pieces are so badly placed, but it is what it is. We got lucky on this game, but it's important that we convert this into a win. So you see, this is what I had in mind. And now, whatever they do, I'm going to do rook e8 to just get to that endgame, rook and knight versus bishop and knight. And more importantly, I knew their knight has nowhere to go, so they're going to have to trade it for my knight. So that's going to be more like a rook versus bishop endgame, where my king is pretty active, my rook is active. It should be easy for any of you guys to convert this into a win. So there you go. We traded rooks, and now rook e7 give me all of those pawns. That's it. Now, if you want, just for practice, you could set this position against the engine and see if you could convert these guys. But that's it. Now it's time to just activate my king. And of course, if I could get my passed pawn to advance and promote, that's the end of it. Now, very careful. If your opponent has a bishop, try to keep your pieces on the opposite color, guys. Now, here you're gonna see very important rook b7 just to make their king go back to the back rank. If their king is not involved, then this is going to be even easier. That's it. I have rook and king plus a passed pawn fighting against a bishop. This is just too much. Now my pawn going to the light square. That's it, guys. Just find that passed pawn and convert this into a win. Now, I could have gone for it, but let me just go a7. I knew they were going to take, but I could picture this being easy to control. That's it. Now, give me the pawn. Then, like I said, my rook. Notice that I have only a few seconds, but this should be enough with the increment. 1 second increment is enough to finish this. Now, careful not to stalemate my opponent. And then we know this checkmate. That's it. All right, so we got that one, and I quickly went ahead to review it with the engine, and you're going to see that no blunders, nothing too bad, but there's a missed win. So I probably had something better at some point, that a quick win that I missed. So there we go. We got 90%, one brilliant move, one great move. That's pretty good. So this is just me bragging now about the few games that I won in that Title Tuesday. Okay, guys, so all of these, we know it's fine. Then e5, look, it's a mistake, but to me, it made sense. Now, knight c6 came in, 97, and by the way, that mistake, these inaccuracies, that doesn't mean you're going to lose again, guys. It's not the most accurate move, it's not the most energetic move, but at the end of the day, if you are in your elements, if you know the typical plans, you're going to be fine. And that's what we talked about when I showed you the game played by Michael Adams. Okay, so here they marked knight c7 as a blunder, but as you can see, even with knight c7 blunder, I was going to be ahead. It's just that there was a better move. Now, queen f3 was always at the back of my mind, and when I did it, I didn't know it was a brilliant move, but it's considered a brilliant move. The rest, it was just pretty easy to do. All of these moves look best move after best move because they're very natural. This is something that all of we all of us know how to do, guys. That's it. Check. Very important. Going back to that check over here, it's important to in the end games to keep your opponent's king away from the action. That's it. And the rest is just history. All right, guys, so this is the other game. So here I'm playing the Fide Master. Is a lower rated opponent, but still we have to be very careful, and you're gonna see how we're using the same setup. So I'm waiting for my opponent to move, and I quickly get to the middle game because I know where my pieces go. So now d3, knight b to d2, pawn to e4, and I'm not saying it's a case here, but in many cases, my opponents, they just don't know what they're playing. They're not familiar with this structure. So that's a bonus. Now trying to do e5, of course they know it, and they're not letting me do that. So when they do now queen c7, I just decided to do c3. Guys, this is very similar to what we get in the Pierce defense. So it helps me, being a Pierce defense player, to get into these setups because I know where the typical plans as well. So now I need to get my knight out of the way from my bishop. So I decided to do it like this. Not always I play like this, but in this case it made sense. Now they're hitting my queen. My queen goes to the king side. Notice how I have my queen now putting pressure on the king side. And one more thing is that I like the pawn structure now on the queen side. I'm putting pressure on the king side to attack, but I'm thinking of an endgame where I have 3 versus 2 on the queen side. And that could come very, very handy. So they traded bishops. That's okay. And now I'm keeping an eye out for knight b5. Trying to remove that powerful bishop on d6. So that's always very attractive. Okay, so knight e5. Nothing extraordinary. Knight b5 is always in the air, but they always have the check on my king. So now queen e4 comes in. Interesting move because I'm getting on that diagonal, so the black queen cannot hit me through it. So I'm ready to do knight b5. And then the only other thing that I know that I have to do is develop my bishop. So now I'm, okay, should I do knight b5? But then I see the knight going to g6, which allows me to do h4, h5, h6. Now there's one video, I think is for a members only video, where I showed this plan of h5, h6. It's a plan that Bobby Fischer used to play, and not many people know about it. So the idea is to put a pivot pawn on h6 and try to work on the dark square. So they didn't let me, which is fine. But now my queen, again, is gonna go to the king side to g4 to threaten, create threats on the king. Now e6 continues to be very attractive to sacrifice pieces. I'm thinking of knight e6, rook e6. So all of that is in the air. Now I didn't do rook e6 right now because after pawn takes, knight takes, they could do, again, queen b7 or queen c6 with check, and then they take care of the g7 threat. So I decided to, not a good move. I knew as I was doing it that it was not accurate. This is more like a cheap trick, if anything. But you're gonna see that it ended up working out for me. So I was deciding, should I go to h2, to g1? Where's my king going to be safer? And I decided to go just to g1. Now a6, this is like, he gave it to me, guys. He allowed me to do the brilliant move, rook e6. Now I knew rook e6 was a good move, but I didn't know it was brilliant, right? And guys, not that we really care if it's brilliant or not, but it's nice, it's exciting. It's exciting when you see it. You know, even when I see it from my opponents, when someone does a brilliant move on me, it's nice because it's not common. So they just went for it. They didn't even have to take the rook. They were gonna be in trouble, but they didn't really have to, and they did. So now I'm hitting the queen, and I'm threatening checkmate on g7. So they give me the queen. And guys, now you might be thinking, okay, piece of cake now. This is easy to win, and it should, but you're going to see how I made a blunder. And that's something that I keep telling you always. If you're ahead in development, try to convert, but be careful because you don't want to let go. These games are painful. If you're winning like this and then you let go, it's really painful. So here I'm just trying to be energetic. G4, of course, I'm trying to be careful with discovered attacks on my queen, but I know it's fine. And now I'm just trying to activate my pieces as much as I can. Now rook e6 was probably fine. I was just a little bit concerned about my back rank. And now you're gonna see that my opponent gets the king out of the way, similar to what I did to them. They get the king out of the way to stop the pin, and then that's when I there you go, king h8. The knight is not pinned anymore. I go queen e6, so excited about my queen penetrating, but I missed rook e7. And now I have to make a decision. When my opponent plays rook e7, I need to decide, do I want to give him my queen and just do queen takes, rook, knight takes, rook takes, and I get into this endgame where I'm up a couple pawns? Or do I take the knight, let it get the rook? And guys, we had a very powerful lesson on how two rooks could be better than the queen. Now, the better choice you're going to see with the engine was to just go into the rook's endgame. But here, my opponent did not go over that lesson 65, I believe. And my opponent did not coordinate the rooks. They're going to be more powerful than the queen only if you coordinate them. And also, there's something else that is a fact. I have two pawns besides this, right? So queen versus two rooks is a different story. Now, queen and two pawns versus two rooks, then it's a little bit more complicated. So here I'm just trying to create a passed pawn. I need to create something. The queen only is not going to do anything. So there are always checks to get away from the attack of the rooks. You see, he's a little bit passive. Now another check, and then I go b4. Pawn majority, and look, I told you this at the beginning. In the end game, my pawn majority could be really powerful. So I'm just trying to avoid the attacks of the rooks. And what my opponent should be doing, guys, is doubling up the rooks on my pawns. You see, I have two isolated pawns now, a3 and c4. They should be doubling up the rooks on the c file, doubling up the rooks on the a file. That's the way you work this out. But I know that time is getting to them. Also, it's not so easy to come up with a plan, right? So now in my mind, I'm just trying to advance the pawns. Now, I'm going to show you the remaining of the game because there's a resource that I used at the end, and we sort of talked about it on lesson 123, 124, when we talked about rook principles. So here I'm just looking for ways to make it uncomfortable for them. There we go, advance the pawn, then check to get away from the threat, then c6. Now in doing c6, I think I didn't do it at the end of the day because I'm afraid of the rooks doubling up on my pawn. See, I'm pushing the other pawn, that way they cannot double up on both. Now c6, queen g8 would be checkmate. They have to be careful. They go back. Now I advance the other pawn. And then once I get the two pawns to the 6th rank, I told you back on lesson 123, 124 that two connected pawns on the 6th rank could be more powerful than one rook. So I'm thinking about that as I play this. So check. Now I need their king to go far away from the pawns. And I think they did that now. Yep. And now, guys, I have queen b7. This has to be a nice move. So queen b7, offering the queen. And if they take it, it's two pawns connected on 6th and 7th, but if they don't, then I have a7, and that's the end of it. There we go. So two connected pawns on the 7th rank, even more powerful than on the 6th rank, and that's game, guys. So now it's just a matter of outplaying them. Queen versus rook could be tricky, but since there are pawns and I have one more pawn, it's not that difficult. So there we go. You're gonna say, I think I blundered a checkmate in one move, but I mean, I knew I knew I was gonna win. I was gonna get it anyways. Okay. I mean, no excuses. I should have seen it, but I think I blundered at some point. All right, guys. So that's the other game I wanted to show you. I don't want to make this video too long and show you more games. I have a few other King City Attack games, but I'm gonna leave that for another video. Quickly here, let me go over the analysis with the engine. So 80%, not that bad, and of course we had our brilliant move right there. So opening, the engine wanted me to play d4, but I want to stay in my elements with the King City Attack setup. Then queen c2, d4. This d4, you gotta be flexible, guys. I almost never played d4, but here it made sense, so I played it. So always you gotta be alert. Now h4, h5 seem to be good. Rook e6. Then the rest is just easy, but of course I couldn't be missing that that blunder, and then the rest was trying to outplay my opponent with the pawn majority. So guys, let me know in the comments if you think you found value in this video, and I will see you on our live stream tomorrow. So don't forget to tune in, and lesson 143 is coming out on Saturday.